Hi everybody, I'm Jared Pike. This is Shell Point Today for the weekend of March 28th, 29th, and 30th. On today's show, Finemark Bank offers some helpful tips on avoiding identity theft. But first, we want to remind you about the Wild About Style Spring Fashion Show taking place in the church auditorium. If you've got tickets to this fashionable event, then make sure you're at the church auditorium Friday at 12 o'clock noon. And then, if you look at page 15 of your Shell Point Life magazine, you'll learn about a special Life Quest event happening on Monday. Don Boren and Leslie Brand have planned a motivational event that can help you set your Life Quest goals and stick to them. The Life Quest Building a Pillar of Strength event happens Monday at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. There's no cost and all are welcome. Now we have a word from Anna Smith of Finemark Bank. We recently heard alarming news about identity theft, that more people from Fort Myers and Naples have their identity stolen than almost any other place in the country. But it doesn't have to happen to you. Here, Anna shares some tips on protecting your personal information.
Hello, I'm Anna Smith, Managing Executive of Finemark National Bank and Trust on the island. In today's Finemark Minute, basic steps to help protect yourself from identity theft. Just last month, the news press reported the top 5 cities in the country with the highest rate of identity theft are all in Florida. Even more alarming, Naples is second and the Fort Myers Cape Coral market is fourth. Although there are countless tactics thieves use to get your information, there are also many ways to keep your information safe. We compiled a list to get you started. First, never carry your Social Security card in your wallet. Keep this card and other personal information in a secure place at home in a safe deposit box. Don't give your personal information out unless you are 100% certain you know who you are dealing with and why they need the information. Next, never click on suspicious links or download anything sent in an unsolicited email. Use firewalls, anti-spyware, and antivirus software to protect your home computer. Also, make sure you know when certain bills or payments arrive at your home every month. If they are late, check with the issuer to make sure someone hasn't stolen them from your mailbox. Along those lines, it is also important to review your financial accounts and billing statements on a regular basis to ensure there's nothing fraudulent. Finally, don't throw away papers containing any personal information. Instead, make sure everything is shredded. These are just a few suggestions, but they can each help when it comes to identity theft. And remember, if you have questions or concerns, ask for help. You can always call us at Finemark on the island at 461-5999 or stop in and see us. With today's Finemark Minute, I'm Anna Smith.
Anna mentioned that shredding sensitive documents rather than just throwing them away is a great way to protect yourself from identity theft. Next month, Finemark will help you do just that. They are bringing a mobile document shredding service to Shell Point so that you can safely and securely destroy sensitive documents, old bank statements, and even old credit cards and other items. This document shredding event is free, and it happens on Monday, April 21st at 9 a.m. at the Village Church. We'll remind you as we get closer to that date. What a week it's been here at Shell Point TV. We got an update on the construction at the estuary, and we saw the Life Quest Aquatic Center being built from scratch, and we saw Leslie Brand driving a fake car. We're replaying all those stories coming up, but first, we're reviewing all of this weekend's happenings, menus, and church news.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Leslie Brand, and I'm here with Bev Chanley. And today we are here to tell you what's going on for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to start with Friday at 8 o'clock, men's match play doubles tennis at the tennis courts. 8:15, stamp ministry in the stamp room on the island. 8:30, marketplace in the administration courtyard. Goes until 11:30. 10 o'clock, canasta in the game room. Also at 10 o'clock is men's match play doubles tennis at the tennis courts. 10:15, inquiring minds in the manatee room on the island. 11 o'clock, Susie Q is going to the market 92 for lunch. Sign-up is required. 11:15, Boston Red Sox versus Minnesota Twins. Court pickup will start at 11:15 on the island. 11:25 at the Woodlands. 11:35 at Eagles Preserve. Sign-up is required. At 12 o'clock, it's the Wild About Style 2014 Spring Fashion Show. This will be at the Village Church on the island. RSVP is required. 12:30, Mixed Progressive Bridge in the game room. 1:15, Table Tennis in the Tarpon Room. Also at 1:15, Quilters in the Osprey Room on the island. The Model Train Room is open for tours from 1:30 to 3:30 in the train room down in the tunnel. 1:30, Vespers in the Community Room at the Arbor. Bid Euchre will be at 2 o'clock in the Sable Room. Vespers at 2:45 in the Community Room of King's Crown. And we're going to jump all the way to 6:45 for game night in the Resident Activity Center. Now here's Bev to tell everyone what's going on Saturday.
Happy Saturday morning, everybody. We're going to start out bright and early with the Health Connections walking event. This is Scope for Hope Run Walk. It starts at 7 o'clock. And the court pickups begin at 7 on the island, 7:10 at the Woodlands, and 7:20 at the Eagles Preserve. You do need to sign up in advance for that event. At 8 o'clock, we have the round robin doubles tennis down at the Woodlands tennis courts. We'll move to 9 o'clock where we have pickleball at the pickleball court. 9:30 is the time for the women's doubles tennis at the Woodlands tennis courts. We have a 9:45 game of duplicate bridge. That'll be in the Manatee Room. Also at 9:45 we have a Health Connections class, Shell Point walking class. This is the pole walking in the health club. We have a 10:15 model yacht sailing club down at the Garden Apartment Pond on the island, sailing their boats. At 1 o'clock we have a trip to the theater, All My Sons at the Gulf Shore Playhouse. Court pickups begin at 1 o'clock on the island, 1:15 at the Woodlands, 1:30 for Eagles Preserve. Sign up is required for that. We'll move to 1 o'clock in the afternoon where we have chess. That'll be played in the library lounge. At 1:15 we have table tennis in the Tarpon Room. We'll jump to 3:15 for the basic line dancing down in the health club. And then at 6:15 we have the Symphony Classical Series bus heading out to Barbara B. Mann Theater. Court pickups begin on the island at 6:15, 6:25 for the Woodlands, and 6:35 for Eagles Preserve. And we'll finish out Saturday evening at 6:30 with the duplicate bridge game down in the Manatee Room. Here's Leslie for the morning activities for Sunday.
Thank you, Bev. At 9 o'clock, Christian Life Studies in the game room at the Woodlands. 9:15, Christian Life Studies at the Village Church. 10:15, morning worship at the Village Church. And if you can't make it out, it will be broadcasted live on Shell Point TV, Channel 12. 1:30, Mixed Golf League at the Shell Point Golf Club. 3:15, the ballroom line dancing for beginners will be in the health club on the island. And lastly, for Sunday and the weekend, 6:15, evening service at the Village Church on the island. Well, we thank you for tuning in with us today. It looks like you guys have a very busy weekend ahead of you. So have fun and stay safe, and we'll see you right back here on Monday.
Menus for your weekend. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter on Friday is baked grouper with spinach and mashed potato. The dinner special is the seafood buffet for $15.95, and the soup of the day is pasta fagioli. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Friday, the special is a fish sandwich with coleslaw and fries for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Friday are lamb chops for $22.95 or fried oysters for $16.95. On Saturday, the Crystal Room is closed. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Saturday, the special is an open-face roast beef sandwich with onion rings for $7.25. The dinner special is chicken cordon bleu with fried potatoes and broccoli for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Saturday are prime rib for $19.95 or braised short ribs for $15.95. On Sunday, the Crystal Room features its Sunday brunch for $17.50. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Sunday, the special is fresh fruit with cottage cheese, sliced tomato, and a beef patty for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. And the Palm Grill is closed on Sundays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
It's a joy to welcome you to Village Church Connections, and a real privilege to be here with Pastor Andy Hawkins. I know that you've been working through the book of Hebrews. We're just still kind of getting started with that.
We are.
But where will you be this Sunday?
Well, we'll be starting chapter 2 this Sunday. And as you recall, we started in chapter 1 recognizing that the author of the book of Hebrews is establishing the superiority of Christ. And he does that by way of comparison. In fact, we don't establish the superiority of anything except by some kind of comparison. But when we get into chapter 2, we get into that part of the book of Hebrews that is all about exhortation. And usually that exhortation is based upon the truths that have been preceding it. And so, based upon the superiority of Jesus as God's spokesman, then the next chapter opens by saying, therefore, pay attention to this one who has spoken, because the essence of the life and ministry of Jesus Christ is the gospel of Christ, in which God provides a salvation for us in Him alone. And if Jesus is that much superior to all the other ways God has spoken, then we, at our own peril, would ignore the revelation of God in Jesus Christ. And so the author of the book of Hebrews is quite direct, and he says we must pay more careful attention to what we've heard, lest we drift away from it. And then he goes on to say, how shall we neglect such a great salvation? So that message this coming Sunday will really be about the message of salvation and how extraordinarily important it is to pay close attention to what that message is, because of the superiority of Jesus as the one who speaks the Word of God.
You've got me excited.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. I've really appreciated the foundation that we've been laying thus far, beginning of Hebrews, and I'm looking forward to where we're going in chapter 2 here.
Great.
And then Sunday night, we have a very special guest, somebody that's been here before and has been really appreciated in the times that he's been here and shared. Tell us who will be joining us.
Yes, Ramez Atala will be here. He is an Egyptian, married to an American who has a father here at Shell Point, and so they visit from time to time. But the important thing is that Ramez and his wife Rebecca are living in Egypt, working in Egypt. He's the general director of the Egyptian Bible Society. But he and Rebecca have an extraordinary range of ministry opportunities in a place that's a very difficult place to actually practice Christianity, much less communicate the gospel of Jesus Christ. Ramez has a bookstore ministry in addition to the Bible work that he does, which is quite remarkable. And Rebecca has had an incredible ministry among the garbage dump villages. There are people that simply live in the midst of garbage, and how she has demonstrated the love of Christ and has actually developed churches in those locations, which is almost impossible to imagine, but the story is compelling.
It is. They've been here a couple times, always on a Wednesday night, so I'm thrilled that they'll be here for a Sunday. And they have shared bits and pieces of their ministry and some of these stories, and it is just God-glorifying. It will be a very meaningful day. Yeah. Hebrews in the morning, and then our guests, Ramez and Rebecca Atala, in the evening. So we invite you to join us Sunday mornings at 10:15, Sunday night at 6:15. Please come. We'd love to see you there.
It's time for our Shell Point TV Week in Review, and we began this week with a visit to the Shell Point Golf Club.
My name is Gary Keating, golf professional, Shell Point Golf Club. As you can see behind me, we have the ping demonstration day here today. Most players today, 90% of players actually, are playing with incorrectly fitted clubs. Generally, shaft is too stiff and the lie angle is incorrect. The lie angle can influence ball flight 90 degrees left and 90 degrees right. We'll also check for flat shaft flex. You'll see behind me there's a small machine on the driving range that is Doppler system. Throughout the Doppler system, what that will do, once we hit some golf shots, it will dial a perfect shaft in for that particular student or client based upon ball velocity, spin ratio, launch angle,
ball speed 124 miles per hour, launch angle 9.3 degrees, shot draw 526 RPMs.
From these combinations of information we receive, we can actually dial a shaft in for that perfect student so they can reach the optimum distance and control the golf course. So today, even if you don't buy some clubs today, we can actually just check your clubs and we can give you some advice how to get them clubs tailor-fitted for you. On site here at Shell Point, we do have loft and lie machines. We can actually make some changes to several different golf clubs. Please come out and join us. You can contact us at 239-433-9790 or shellpointgolf.com.
The LifeQuest Aquatic Center is now open, but we had a unique viewpoint of its construction, utilizing a time-lapse camera to document all 6 months. Bob Southern joined me to explain the process. Hi everybody, it's Jared Pike here with Shell Point TV. With me is Bob Southern, the Director of Project Development, and today we're going to look at footage that we've shot of the Aquatic Center, the LifeQuest Aquatic Center, as it's being built. We're going to start with the very first step after the old island pool closed. So you had to tear out all of this vegetation.
Yeah, this machine is, when it's run by a good operator, can be very particular in how it works. I mean, it grabs, and it can grab specific items, and it can work in a way that separates materials, and they use it in that way to separate parts of a building that can be recycled from parts of a building that just have to be trashed. So in this particular case, they're just removing palm trees, but when a building is being torn down, they can separate the metals that they can sell and make money from the stuff that just goes to the dump. So a good operator uses that in a way that is really interesting to watch, and it almost works like a hand and a thumb.
Talk about why digging out of that soil was such an important part of the process.
Well, back in the early days of the construction of Shell Point, and back in those days in the mid-1960s, vegetation that was on a site was often just knocked over, perhaps sometimes burned, but was not removed. And fill was brought in and just placed on top of it. Well, that vegetation over time turned into a substance similar to peat moss, and it was very compressible. So you had a substance under there that was often several feet thick that was like a sponge that you could mash down. So it created a situation where buildings would mash that loamy substance down and settle. And that is not a good thing for buildings, which creates settling floors, cracking walls, and other problems that we have seen in a number of the earlier buildings that were constructed at Shell Point. It's often referred to as muck. And it smells like muck when you dig it up. You know you're digging it up because it smells bad.
That's a technical term.
That's a very technical construction term, but you dig down to it and you remove it, and you dig down to the point where you get down to good, clean soil underneath of it, and you haul it off, and you bring good, clean, compactable fill back in, and you compact it as you fill the hole where it came out of, and you build it up to the level that you're going to build on. Now, that's not bad soil. It's a good topsoil. And we do use that in perimeters of projects and in places as a topsoil. So we didn't just waste it.
But it's not a good foundation.
It's not a good foundation. It's not compactable. We went down and got it out of there.
Well, let's orient people. Right now, we're looking from the second floor of the guest house. This is where our camera was located, and it took a picture every 30 seconds for 6 months. So we documented the entire construction process. And right now, Bob, can you describe kind of what stage the construction is in at this very beginning of the video?
Yes, and you're looking over the construction superintendent's little trailer there. And this is at the point where the muck has been removed, and we're just starting to try to pour the foundation on the left-hand portion of the picture where the pool house is going to go. And this was back in the summer, and it was raining a lot back then, you may remember. And we were trying to prepare for the concrete pour. And I think the guys actually did it like 4 or 5 times, because every time they get the site ready for concrete, we get a heavy rain and wash out all the soil that was there ready for concrete. So it took a better part of a week on what should have been a day's worth of work to get that ready for concrete. And that was one of the reasons that the job was later to finish in the other end, because of those heavy rains we had during last summer.
Is the rainy season anyway, yes. But this was particularly bad.
Especially heavy rain time.
Yeah. Now, so they're preparing the building on the left. No, the building on the right, what is that?
The building on the right is combination storage for chairs and tables and whatnot on one side, and pool equipment, chemicals, pumps, filters, that kind of equipment out there.
So they poured the concrete, they poured the footers, and I see they've got blocks there. Tell me what these guys are doing.
These are the block masons, the guys with the really big arms. You hardly have to speed up this film for that, because those guys are just quick. And they know what they're doing when you get good ones, and they lay block in a hurry. And when they get in and get going, they'll have a wall up for you very quickly. And so they're blocking the main exterior walls of the building, and any interior walls that also need to be blocked, and getting it up to the point where you're ready to form out and pour the tie beam around the top of the block, and then getting ready for the roof trusses.
Now, in the meantime, I see stakes going up kind of where the main pool is going to be. The hole isn't dug yet, is it?
No, the hole isn't dug. They start to lay out the site and determine where the pool is going to go, and what the shape is going to be, and where a lot of the underground piping needs to go. There is a network of pipes that bring water in, take water out, move it from the scuppers and the main drains at the bottom of the pool. So there's a large network of pipes under there, and there's a huge support system of reinforcement steel that has to be established to hold the concrete shell in place, to try to make sure you don't ever have any settlements or cracks in that shell. Obviously, a crack in a building is bad. A crack in a pool is real bad. So the steel, and then the reinforcement steel, how and where it's placed, is critical.
And they had to do this process for several different pools. It wasn't just one pool.
Yes, we actually had 2 full pools and the hot tub out there. And the main pool had a very interesting shape with its lap pools and its deeper swimming area, and the kind of the throat that connected those two. And then it also had the zero entrance feature. So it was a multi-faceted pool in itself. And then the exercise/therapy pool had the interesting ramp that went into that pool. So it had a very neat, interesting feature in itself, and had a lot of steel and concrete in that also. So there was a lot of layout work to get all that steel in, working in and around all those pipes and water movement pipes that you need to get the water in and water out.
I want to bring people's attention to the right here, this little bobcat that's moving dirt. What are they doing here?
They have to create places to put the water that fills into the pool holes. The groundwater is very close to the surface here in the island at Shell Point. You can practically take a soup spoon and dig down a few inches and get water. So when you're digging a hole that you have to build in, you've got to be constantly pumping water out of that hole. So in order to do that on this site, we created a retention pond, and from the pool hole sites, we were pumping the water from the pool into these retention ponds that were temporary in nature. We couldn't get a permit to just dump this water out into a storm drain and out into the canals, so we had to keep it on site.
So you're managing both dirt and water.
Dirt and water, that's correct.
Now let's talk about what's happening here. They're digging the hole for
the hot tub.
And then I see wooden forms going up in the exercise pool.
That's right. They're starting to shape that the sides of that pool. and working on the steel, that the reinforcement steel that will hold that concrete in place.
Okay, and now I see them really going to town on the main pool, digging out the hole.
Yes, and they're still pumping water into those retention areas.
And then here's the trusses.
So a lot of things are happening around the site at once, a lot of coordination. You see a lot of trucks and people coming and going. It's a tight spot and a lot was going on, and the superintendent on the site had to make sure everybody played nice and got along and did their work with a minimum of knocking heads in the process.
Let's take a look at building this cupola here.
We designed a fairly elaborate little roof feature, the cupola, and the structure to accommodate that. And the guys are finishing the basic roof structure, and then they start working on that cupola, the structure of that feature. And it had some openings in it and places for light and air to move through it. The entire aquatic center deserved a nice little feature right there at its entrance. So that's why we put the time and effort into that building and that roof design.
So this shop, Bob, I happen to know this started at 4 in the morning, pouring concrete for the main pool. Talk about this day.
Well, often when you're pouring concrete, particularly in the summertime or when it's hot, you've got to start early and try to get the bulk of the work done before it gets very hot, so that it doesn't set up too quickly.
And let's describe for people this gunite process. Describe, because this isn't just mixing concrete and pouring it, they're actually shooting it out of a gun.
Yes, they are. You can see there, it comes out, again, it's very dry, and they are controlling this hose, and it comes out of the truck very dry, and they build it up. And they just keep spraying in the same area and building it up until it covers the reinforcement steel, and it gets out to the thickness that they want it. And you can see all the steel there that they have to cover, and it takes a good while to do that. And after it gets out close to where they want it, then they have some finish guys work it a bit to give it kind of the final shape that they want. It is difficult work, and it's takes a lot of strength and a lot of endurance, and that machine doesn't quit, and it doesn't let up. There's not easier times. It just keeps shooting that concrete.
So while that happened and now the concrete forms are set up, here we have the roofing material here. It's like a jigsaw puzzle almost.
Yeah, this is a type of metal roofing that's been used in Florida or something very similar to it for a long time, and it has an old Florida look to it. And the pieces are cut and fit as you follow along the roof edges, and then they have some cap pieces that go with it. And these guys are very experienced in what they do to make those pieces fit and cut them to fit and make sure that we don't have leaks in the design. But it's a very reliable roof that lasts for a lot of years.
So now the pool's covered in concrete. The buildings, the exteriors are done, and they're working on the interiors. Now I see they're kind of digging trenches here. What are they doing?
They are running more pipes around, and they're underground utilities of various types. And it could be irrigation, it could be electrical, it could be plumbing. There's just a myriad of pipes running all over that site. And it was a great challenge to work in the pool project with all the existing underground utilities that run through that site, and plus add all the new ones that we had to put in. And we had to reroute a few heavy communication and phone lines around the site. So it's always a challenge in a area that has been developed to work around what's there. And some things you know ahead of time, and some things you find by accident, and that's never a lot of fun.
All right, I see more stakes here. What are they staking out?
Well, they're starting to stake out where other things are going to occur on the site, where there are going to be sidewalks, where there will be planter beds, where paver blocks will go. I was joking with the superintendent. It looked like he was going to start planting his tomatoes out there. There were so many stakes. But you're starting to lay out the site so that the superintendent knows where he's going to put in his sidewalk and where the edge of the pavement is and where the street starts and where the palm trees go and all the stuff you see out there now. It's not left to happenstance. Surveyors come out and they lay out corners of things so that this is where the pavement ends and this is where the planter bed starts. And so that's all over that site. You'd see stakes telling him where the pavers go and where the concrete starts and stops. And
they're still hauling in more dirt.
Still hauling in more dirt.
That's a never-ending thing, isn't it?
That's a never-ending thing. You take dirt out, you bring dirt in. What they're doing now is spreading the sand that goes under the paver bricks. We call them paver blocks, paver bricks, but there is a compactable, nicely smoothable sand that you put under the paver brick, and under that is a very compactable material that they run around on first that gives you a good hard base. And then the sand is something that the guys can smooth out nicely that they then lay the pavers on. So there are built-up layers that as you get up to that layer, even with the pool deck, of all that material in there.
I see them laying the curbs.
Yeah, they're starting to form the site. And because we had such a restricted schedule, so much we had to get done, and so much that needed to be done, we did some areas and then we had to leave some openings so you could get in to deliver palm trees or get in to finish certain things. But we couldn't wait to do the entire perimeter, so we did some things and then left other things go to finish later.
All right, trees coming. This is a big day.
Yeah, we brought in some of the bigger trees and some of the perimeter stuff, but particularly the bigger ones that had to go into the site and the ones that went deep into the site as early as we could. And then you had to really make sure you kept them watered while this other construction work was going on because we had no irrigation system. And now we're into the time of the year when you're not getting any rain.
Right.
So we had a day laborer out there, and one of his jobs was just to water trees every day.
Wow.
Run around with a hose and keep the trees wet. They're expensive palms, and you didn't want to risk losing them and not keeping them wet.
Let's talk about the Chickee Hut, and I've never seen a Chickee Hut being built. So why don't you describe it? They actually build it on site. They don't have it in a warehouse somewhere.
Yeah, the Chickee Hut is built and used by the Native Americans that lived in Florida, the Seminoles or the Miccosukes, and they have used it for shelter for generations, and it's made out of cypress and palm fronds, and they bring all the materials out on a truck, and they construct it right on site. It's been modernized a little bit. The posts at the bottom are now pressure-treated lumber, so they have upgraded that, but enjoyable to watch it because nobody's out there with tape measures, or it's all done by eye, and the horizontal roof members are essentially at the height they are because the guy would put his foot on the one below and his knee would be kind of where he'd lay the next one and nail it in place, and then the fronds are kind of pre-cut, and the guy on the bottom puts a nail in one place, and then the guy comes up and drives the nail in the rest of the way and cuts the frond off at the right length, and they're passing up fronds as fast as they can, and in like 5 hours they had that structure built and they were out of there.
It's amazing, and those things last.
They do last. The fronds will last probably 7-8 years or longer. If you don't have any bad windstorms.
All right, I see them bringing the pavers in. Talk about that job.
The guys doing the pavers, after you've got a compacted sub base in there, they then bring in this good clean sand that they spread around and they level it out. They've got different patterns they use for laying pavers. This particular pattern out there, for the most part, is called a random T. And if you look through most of it, you'll see a T shape that shows up periodically, and it's random, which is why they call it random T. But they got guys who have very good, strong backs who bend over all day long, and guys keep feeding them brick, and they keep laying them and hardly ever straighten up, it seems like. and they just keep laying them by hand, brick after brick after brick, cutting, many, many bricks to fit around things.
So while they're doing the pavers, we see on the left that guys have poured sidewalks for the main building here, and now they're working on these parking spots.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that we did there. We have to, for a lot of years, you've had to contain the water that runs off of your project during a storm on your project site. You can't just let your storm water run out into surrounding water bodies or somebody else's property the way it had done for many decades. And in this particular case, or in many cases, it's done in a stormwater retention pond. But there really wasn't a great place for a retention pond in this area. So we accommodated a lot of our retention under these parking lots with a series of different size gravels layered over top of each other, and then a paver brick laid on top of that that's called a pervious paver. And it's pervious because it's got wider spacing between the brick so that water percolates through that paver arrangement quicker and then filters down through these various thicknesses of gravel and then percolates into the soil over time. So that our water retention is actually accommodated in the new parking areas that we put in around the new pool, the aquatic center. So we didn't have to have a retention pond per se, but it's handled right here in these parking lots. It's not only an attractive parking lot, but you don't even know it's a retention pond if somebody doesn't tell you that.
All right, we're getting down to the home stretch here, and I see that they take away the mobile office here.
There it went.
That's a landmark in construction, isn't it?
It is. That means you're usually within the last week or so. Now you're trying to finish the site and get ready to open very soon.
They're putting water in?
We're filling the pools. We filled them with our fire hydrants. Actually didn't take too long to do that.
And then
more plants.
More plants, make it look really nice. And then I guess the final part is the road.
Yes, we had to change the grade of the road around the new aquatic center in a number of locations. So you see the work they're doing right up against those new areas. And then because we impacted this road here between the guest house and the aquatic center, I had them put a new layer over that area, which is what you see happening there. And then restripe the existing areas and new stripes on the new areas.
What is this blue hose here? Is this a final wash down, I guess?
Yeah, that's the final filling. I think they're filling, topping off the exercise pool there, and a little bit of wash down as they need to. Now we're getting the paver, the parking blocks in and getting them painted.
And then it's time for a party.
And it's time for a ribbon cutting. There comes the chairs.
So this was a pretty cool day, Bob, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was nice to get it done and dedicate it, and it was beautiful. It was really fun to show it off, and we were quite happy to do so and get everybody in there and have them take a look at it.
And I see that you were the first one in.
Yeah, we were told that we were going to have to get in there and cut the ribbon, so I got the shoes off and got in, and Scott and Dawn and Pete were in there. And
I think that's quite appropriate that you were the first one.
I guess so. The water wasn't too cold as long as it didn't go over your ankles at that point. We didn't have the heaters on yet.
It looks like everyone's enjoying this pool immensely. What do you think of the job now that you've seen it completed?
Well, I think it's a wonderful addition to the island. I think it's so far above where we started with the old pool. The old pool was wonderful for its time. It didn't owe us anything. It had been there for over 40 years. And it was time for it to take its rest. And I don't know that there's many retirement communities in the country that can say they've got an aquatic center like this one. So I think it's something we can be very proud of.
It's great. We've been looking at the footage of the Aquatic Center of the construction with Bob Southern. For ShellPoint TV, this is Jared Pike. The Resident and Employee Variety Show is coming up in April with a Route 66 theme, and we need your talents to make it happen.
Yep, there's nothing like getting your car out onto the open road and heading out west, getting your kicks on Route 66. Look, there's an old Texaco station, and there's a great drive-in restaurant over there. I've got some classic tunes on the radio. Yeah, this is gonna be the best road trip ever. Okay guys, this is totally fake. We're not really fooling anybody. But you know what? You don't actually have to go out west to enjoy Route 66. Just think of the classic songs, the skits, the poems about road trips, mom and pop burger stands, and your favorite classic cars. That's exactly what we're looking for at the Route 66 Variety Show, coming on April 29th. If you want to perform one of the classic car songs, like Little Deuce Coupe or King of the Road, we want you. Or if you've got a talent that brings back memories of the Western U.S., then show us your 4 minutes of fame. Just contact me, Leslie Brand, at 454-2057 to audition your act. But don't delay. The deadline to sign up is next Tuesday, April 1st, which will soon zoom on right by. So sign up for the Route 66 Variety Show, and we'll see you out on the road. Woohoo!
Last week's ShellPoint Art Show brought 800 people to our campus, and it's all because of amazing artwork like this. Bob Southern joined me to talk about the status of Shell Point's newest neighborhood, the Estuary. Hi everybody, it's Jared Pike with Shell Point TV. With me is Bob Southern, Director of Project Development. We're talking about the Estuary. Now, Bob, the Estuary, Shell Point's newest neighborhood, is going to be located where? Let's describe where in Shell Point it is going to be.
Well, it is on the southern portion, basically, of the residential property that we have.
So in other words, if you went on Par Boulevard to go to the golf course or to Eagles Preserve, you've driven right by it.
You have driven right by it. And when you get to that big turn on Par, after you've just gotten on Par, you see all the development underway.
Now, what you can see here from the air is that there's a lake that's been dug. And what else has been done to prep the site for this potential neighborhood? At the point that this image was taken, we have imported all of the fill that's needed for this site and/or dug it out of that lake. Some of it came from the lake. A lot of it was imported from elsewhere. So the entire estuary is ready for construction both now and in the future. Okay. And there was some drainage that had to be installed?
Yes, we have connected the new lake to the existing lake network that was in place around the estuary property along the golf course, which ultimately connects on the southern end to the big lake within the preserve that separates the estuary and the springs area. And if you look at the earlier renderings and drawings that we did of the estuary project, you can see that shape on there that looks very much like the shape that's in the field now of the lake that was intended to be there, that would be surrounded by homes. And that peninsula you see going out into the middle of the lake is where the future community center and swimming pool will be. So it will in essence be surrounded by this little lake out here.
So now that all the site prep is done, what's the next step for you guys? Because you are progressing with the construction.
Yes, and if you went out there today, you would see a lot of equipment out there and a lot more dirt piled up. We have been very busy in recent weeks installing the underground utility network that will serve the homes that are going to be on this site. So main water lines, main sanitary sewer lines, main irrigation lines are all in or in the process of being installed. We will soon be installing conduit for Florida Power and Light's services, CenturyLink's telephone services, for our fiber optic network. So there is a multitude of stuff that goes underground that you don't even see later, but provides all the infrastructure required for the people that will live there when the homes are constructed. The fire hydrants and all that will be a part of this infrastructure installation. The landscaping at the entry, the landscaping around the lake, and the landscaping when we construct the community building will all be a part of this infrastructure network we're establishing.
When do you break ground on the first house? When does vertical construction start?
Well, there's kind of like two phases for that. We're hoping to start construction on the first structure out there, which they're anticipating that it will be a preview home on lots 1 and 2, which are the first lot on the left, and that's a twin villa in early May. And then the first home that has been purchased will start in early June.
And then how long does it take to build a house?
Well, we're anticipating about 4 months to build a house, and one will start about every week and a half, and then we hope to finish one about every week once we get rolling. So a house will finish. Once the first one's done, then one every other week after that. And as long as sales are consistent, we will consistently turn over a house every week.
And it makes sense because you have the guys out there, the masons and the plumbers and the bricklayers and all that. You want those guys out there to be working.
That's the most efficient way to do it. If the homes have been sold and you can keep moving, that's the best way to go because people don't have to leave and come back. You don't lose them off on other jobs. The timing works better that way. and we're just hoping that the sales are consistent and we can keep just rolling along.
Now, this has been in the planning for many, many years, decades, in fact. And what do you think now that we're starting to turn dirt and people are going to live here eventually?
Well, obviously we're excited to build. That's what we do in project development. We love to build stuff, and there is so much planning that goes on behind the scenes before we can get out there and do this kind of stuff, and just figuring out what you're going to build and where you're going to put it and how the community lays out, and then dealing with all the public utilities, the water and sewer people, and Florida Power and Light and Century Link, and then just dealing with Lee County addressing. What addresses can you put on the homes, and what makes the emergency services people happy so they can find the homes, and the post office you have to deal with, and how the mail is to be delivered, and so there are just many, many things that you have to work out as a part of a project before you can even do the first thing out there in regard to the building of it. But it's a challenging but interesting process, and you like to be a part of that from start to finish. And as with all the projects, when you see them start to come out of the ground and begin to finish, and people can see their new homes or their new offices or whatever it is you're building, it's a very satisfying time for you.
That's great. And we're thrilled to welcome residents of this new neighborhood, the Estuary, as it comes up out of the ground. And we'll keep you updated as to what to look for and all the new developments at the Estuary. So for Bob Southern, this is Jared Pike, Shell Point TV. I talked to Glenda Stephenson about next weekend's Women's Conference. Hi everybody, it's Jared Pike and Glenda Stephenson. We're on the stage of the Village Church, and right now we got a bunch of empty seats, but it wasn't like that a year ago with an act called Women Who Dare to Believe. What was this act like?
Jared, it was two women, Nan Gurley and Bonnie Keene, who have put together a 90-minute musical dramatic presentation that highlights 21 women in the Bible. And they use a big red piece of cloth that ties all of this together. It kind of represents the bloodline of Christ. And they use this cloth in a variety of ways as they dramatize, sing, tell the story of 21 women of influence in the scriptures.
And these ladies can sing, but they're also funny. They can act. They're multi-talented. And what did people say after the performance? There was quite a buzz about it.
There really was. I heard so many people say this was life-changing. I've heard people say, I saw them last year and I would not miss it for anything this year. It was just that meaningful.
That's great. So these two ladies, Women Who Dare to Believe, are coming back to the Village Church on April 4th. That's a Friday night. Give us the specifics of this concert, when, where, and how much.
April 4th is the concert. It'll be a 90-minute dramatic presentation again, but it's going to be a little bit different this year because we're going to be around round tables, dessert buffet. It's going to be just a very special atmosphere for men and women. Okay. This is a regular concert open to anybody to attend, and I would encourage folks, do not miss this. It'll be $15 for just the Friday night event.
Okay, so April 4th, Friday night, $15 for the Women Who Dare to Believe concert, and dessert.
And dessert.
And dessert. Now, this is not the only special part of this weekend. We're also rolling in a women's conference. Now, these two ladies are going to be involved in the conference. Talk about what's going to happen on Saturday.
Saturday, they're doing 3 sessions that highlight specific women in the Bible. The first session begins at 9 o'clock. We've got another session in the morning. We break for a nice catered lunch, very nice lunch. And then we come back for the final session at 1:30 in the afternoon. And they will weave through the series of 3 sessions what it means to be a woman who dares to believe. And I think people will really appreciate this.
That's great. And so if you like the performance, you like watching the performance, just imagine what insights these ladies have to share personally, not on stage as performers, but just as women. So it's this women's conference is not just open to Shell Point residents, but it's open to the public, family members, friends, your neighbors. All women are welcome to the Saturday conference.
Right, and the Saturday conference is $35 if that's all you're doing. But I would really recommend for ladies that they do the package deal because they can get both the Friday night and the Saturday for $45 and save a little bit.
So you save money if you get tickets to both the concert and the conference. Once again, the concert is open to all men and women, and there's dessert. That's on Friday night. And Saturday is the women's conference. Women Who Dare to Believe, that's $35. But again, you can save money by getting tickets both together. Where do they get tickets?
By calling the Village Church office, they can charge their Shell Point account, they can send a check, and we'll hold their tickets and we'll call. We'll work with them however we can. But we do need to get their ticket requests before the end of this month if we can because of the catered lunch on Saturday.
Okay, anytime there's food, we need to know how many are coming in advance. So call the Village Church at 454-2147 to reserve your tickets, or just come on by and they'll tell you more about this amazing weekend, Women Who Dare to Believe.
Now they are back!
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in next week for more stories and news from around your community. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of March 28th, 29th, and 30th. I'm Jared Pike, and from all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday.